Hello everyone, welcome to Analytics with Asmi. In this video, we are going to see the difference between where and having clause in MySQL. It is very important for you to know the difference because most of the time, interview asks you this question. So when we should use where clause and when we should use the having clause. So it is very important question for interview point of view. So please watch this video till the end. Now let us understand the difference between where and having clause. So our first difference is where clause is used to filter the records from the table, means raw data based on the specified condition, while having clause is used to filter a record from the groups based on specified condition. So we have where clause when we have to filter the rows from the table or a raw data, means before grouping the data, while we use the having clause if we have to filter the data from groups, means after grouping the data. In just one sentence you can say that where clause is used on the raw data, whereas having clause is used on the grouped data. Let's look at this query. So in this query you will see that this query will fetch a name, city and the salary from the citizens, where the salary of the citizen is more than 40,000. Okay, so this query will check each row of a table one by one, and where clause will filter the rows based on the given condition, and here condition is salary should be greater than 40,000. So when we execute this query, we will get this output. So we are getting the four results where salary is greater than 40,000. Okay, now let's execute this in MySQL. Here I have opened the MySQL editor. Now we are using this demo database. Let's run this first. Okay, now we will run this select star from citizen. So it will show us all the record present in this citizen table. Okay, let's execute this. Now here you can see we have a 6 columns where we have many records. Okay, so now we have to fetch the full name, city, salary from the citizen where condition is given salary is greater than 40,000. So here it will go row by row and fetch the salary where it is greater than 40,000. Okay, it will filter it. Now if we execute this query now, we are getting the result. We are getting the 4 rows where the salary is greater than 40,000. Hope this is clear to you. Now look at another query for having clause. Here the query will fetch the city and the sum of salary from the citizen table, which is grouped by city having sum of salary is greater than 40,000. Now in both cases we have a condition. Okay, so this query will return only those rows which will satisfy the condition. Now let's see how this query will work. So from the citizen table, it will first group the salary according to the city. Okay, at the back end what will happen, it will first group the salary according to the city, something like this, and some aggregate function will add the salary of each city, and last it will return only those rows which will meet the condition, that is sum is greater than 40,000. Now when we execute this query, the output will come like this. We will get only the two rows where the sum of salary will be like this. Please note that we have using here the aggregate function in having clause, but in where clause we don't use any aggregate function. Okay, let's execute this in MySQL. Earlier we have seen that we have used the where clause where we didn't use the aggregate function. Okay, here we got a four rows where salary is greater than 40,000. Then we are now using the having clause where we group the data by the city, and we have used the aggregate function, and then we put the condition where salary is sum of salary is greater than 40,000. Now let's execute this and we are getting this result. So here we are getting the result after the grouping by city. Now let's see what happens if you are using the where clause in place of a having clause. Now if you execute this query, it will throw an error. It will give you the syntax error. So here we can't use a where clause because where clause is used to filter the rows from the raw data before grouping, and having clause deals with the groups, means columns. Now here if you can see, we have used a where instead of this having. Now if we execute this query, you can see here we are getting the syntax error. Okay, SQL syntax error. Same way, if you execute this query where we have used a group by in a where clause, this will also throw an error. It will give an syntax error. So you have to avoid these mistakes. And one more thing you should keep in mind, that the sequence should be always where, then group by, then having. You can't write a query like this. Here we have written the select, then from, then having and group by. So this sequence is not correct. It should be where, group by, then only having. Okay, please note it down. Now let's check it out the other differences. So first difference we have already cleared. Now second difference is where clause can be used without a group by clause, and having clause cannot be used without a group by clause. We have already seen with the example that we can't use a group by with the where. We will get a syntax error. Okay, and with the having clause you should always write a group by function, because first it will group, then only we can use the having condition. Okay. Now third difference is where clause implement a row operations, whereas having clause implements in a column operations. So here where clause deals with the row by row function, where the having clause deals with the column. Here we are grouping it, so that's why it deals with the column function. For fourth difference is where clause cannot contain aggregate function, whereas having clause can contain an aggregate function. So we have already seen with the example where in the citizen table we have seen that we can't use a aggregate function in a where clause. We will get an syntax error, where we have to use the aggregate function when we are using the having clause. Here it will group first and then it will give you, after the condition, it will give you the aggregated value. Okay. Fifth difference is where clause can be used with select, update, delete statement, whereas having clause only be used with the select statement. So this difference is very important. You should always mention this difference, where clause is used in a select, update and delete statement, because we are putting here the condition. Now sixth difference is where clause is used before group by clause and having clause is used after the group by clause. We have already seen that the sequence should be always where, group by and then having. Okay, so we can't use a group by before the where clause, and having clause is used after the group by clause. Now last difference is where clause is used with a single row function like upper and lower, as it is dealing with the row function, whereas having clause is used with the multiple row function, means in column it is aggregating. That's why we are getting some count aggregate function. Okay, so these are the all 7 differences you should mention when interviewer asks you the difference between where clause and having clause. Hope this is clear to you now. That's all about this video. I hope you like this video. So keep watching Analytics with Asmi and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.